brief overview. Since it's the first time since Saturday night, I think the big thing is there's two cups there. There's the cup that has some very positive things in it, very good effort, playing relentless, third down. Obviously, 87% success rate on third down when there's 15 of them is hard to do, and so that was progress. I don't. You can take this two-sided. Number one is you shouldn't let them in the red zone, but if they do get in the red zone and take 16 snaps, I think it does show that we're starting to develop the fighting spirit that we need to have, because they defended the goal line inside the red zone 16 snaps and gave up one touchdown, which is not acceptable by our standards, but it does indicate that the guys have bought into the process. They're trying to fight. We in the passing game, we had a couple of not issues, because they were not busts. We didn't have that, but we they called 47 passes, completed 20 of them for 5.5 yards per attempt. Per call pass, which that's a good number. So we're making some progress in that regard. Now, as far as run defense, it's not acceptable. It's not to our standard, and it will be corrected and corrected immediately. And so I think the thing that we've got is we've got guys that have bought into the process. They understand the process. We've got to develop more of a sense of urgency to, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to sharpen the axe, so that when we do go to chop down the tree, that we're not we're just knocking the bark and bruising the tree and getting real tired. We've got to get that done to where the process is we've got to get more honed up in our skill to develop the ability to hone that process up in the week, so that we can come out with the kind of production that we want. So we're making progress, but we've got a long way to go, and it is a work in progress. But I think probably the thing that their attitude has been and is very good. And as long as we got that, then as coaches, we got to help them. We got to get better.
Questions? Kevin, how do you look at, you just talked about the run defense, but if you take away that one play, as a whole, you're still less than 4 yards per attempt if it's not for that 89-yard run. So how do you look at the whole body of work when there is that long play? Obviously, that's a brutal score.
Yeah. Yeah, we obviously were doing something right to create 15 third downs. There's, like I said, when you watch the film, there's some really, really good plays on there, some good run fits, some good tackling. I think probably the culprit of that particular play was a total misfit, a miscommunication, and that's just. That falls on us as coaches to get that corrected, but it also falls on them to make sure that they're paying attention to the process and problem solving when something like that happens. As far as how we've done for the 3 games, is we have made progress in the run game, but when you look at it, the totality, it's not to the standard that we've got to have in the SEC. It's just not.
There will be observers of that, especially in the third quarter. See, 5 3-and-outs in the game, the third quarter, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
That sooner or later, you get against an SEC opponent that good, the defense can only do so much before something could happen like that kind of run. And yet your standard is going to be high. Your players took accountability for it.
Right.
It's hard to still maintain, to have that mindset of you having to be not perfect necessarily, but have that kind of mindset when the offense isn't necessarily producing.
Well, I think that's a great Great question, and it really is. But in the defensive room, part of the process that we've tried to establish from the very beginning is that, our job is, if we were firemen, our job isn't to worry about who started the fire, okay? How long it's been burning. It's to put the fire out. And so we really have to focus on that, and it has to be that kind of mentality. And we've got to develop that kind of mentality. So that it's because we control the run game, the pass game, and getting off the field on third down and creating turnovers. That's what we control. So that's where our focus is.
You obviously last year saw Leonard Fournette plenty, and then what he did against Auburn last year. It's a special back. What do you got to do to slow him down?
Well, obviously, he's a very talented young man, but it still goes back to what you've heard me say before. You got to be very careful, and we're not built this way. It's what we do. It's how we line up. It's controlling our gap. We're not going to ask anybody out there to take more than one zone, one man, one gap. Do your job. And that's every week. That's every play.
Kevin, it's got to be a little different when you play them so soon after having been there, and then they got a guy there, Damian, who was here last year. What kind of impact does that have as far as just knowledge?
Well, I've got a couple more times of experience of it than most, and I've done it before, and quite frankly, it really has very little effect on it. Really does.
With the pass rush, Trevor Knight and his mobility, that kind of play into not finishing some of those plays in the backfield with SC.
Well, he did. He called 47 and completed 20 of them. So obviously, we affected the quarterback. If you call 47 and complete 20 of them, then you've affected the quarterback in some way. Now the thing is that's always measured publicly on how many times did you sack him, and obviously all of us like to get sacks, but it's also how many times did you make him change his launch point. How many times did you make him throw it quicker than he wanted to throw it? A great example is early in the game, Trey ran through the unscathed, was in his face. He's backpedaling. It's a third down play. He turns it loose. It's incomplete. Well, that wasn't a sack, but we're off the field, and he had to turn that thing loose a lot quicker than he wanted to. And so that's a major part of it as far as for a coach is change the launch point, affect him, make him move around, make him throw it when he doesn't want to throw it, distort what he's seeing, and then the sacks will come if we just keep relentlessly rushing the passer.
How impressed have you been with Etling since they made him the quarterback?
Pardon me?
How impressed have you been with Etling, the quarterback that LSU now taking over Harris?
Well, we're so early in the process. I'd like to tell you that it's been less than 18 hours after I got home from last night's game. Had to evaluate last night's game. We've had a practice. Had not had a lot of film watching, very minimal. So I hadn't got to that to its nth degree. He was the scout team quarterback last year, so I was around him every day. I do know him, but I don't think that has any bearing on how he'll play or how we'll defend him.
You don't scheme up necessarily. If you know it's a young guy who hasn't seen a whole lot, you don't try to trick him with eye candy or disguising shells or something like that.
That's a good question, but I really wouldn't tell anybody in the media the answer.
Kevin, how did Trey Matthews grade out? Because there were a couple plays that people kind of cherry picked, in particular the Noyle catch down the sideline where he appeared to miss him, and on the run he appeared to take himself out of the play there, a slip or something. So just on those two plays in particular, how do you grade out as a whole, and can you address those two?
He actually graded out in totality. He played a good game. But I'm speaking for the whole defense. We missed way too many tackles. We cannot play like that, and we're going to get that corrected immediately. And it's unacceptable.
Don Hagan's been here earlier this week and basically said that he never looks at tackles. He has how has Byron played this year? Because people are gonna look at 3 games, he's made like 2 total tackles.
Right.
How do you think he's played?
He's progressing. I mean, he's getting significant snaps in crucial parts of the game, and he's progressing.
What do you guys need to do, I guess, to create more turnovers? Obviously, haven't had any since the Clemson game.
Well, that is a discussion that was had today, both by the staff and in the defensive room. It is something that we've got to create more turnovers. Now, obviously, you got to. They're not going to give it to you. You got to be in the right place at the right time, but you got to go with the mentality to make that happen. I think where you can probably make it happen quicker than any is when the ball's being carried and we're in a tackle mode. Your second man in, stripping the ball out. You know, interceptions. It may or may not happen. You know, because sometimes those incomplete passes are uncatchable by both parties. And so, when you're tackling we've got to do a better job of that, and that's something we talked extensively about today, of ripping the ball out, getting turnovers, creating scoring opportunities, scoring ourselves.
You guys, how close have you been to some of those
Well, we had one the other night laying on the ground in front of us, and you know, we got 2 guys there, and they got 1 guy there, and they got it. But we've got to create more. It's not something that we don't work on. We do work on it, but we've got to do a better job of it. We've got to. We very much need to be a more opportunistic defense in terms of creating turnovers.
I'm sure you just stress the player that changes the complexion of the game completely.
Absolutely, and it gets you off the field, and that's your job.
Did you know Javaris could hit like that?
Pardon me?
Did you know Javaris could hit like that?
Yeah, yeah. He's not a guy that shies away from contact.
Yeah, obviously, from a mentality standpoint, you know what you're kind of getting. LSU, they're going to get smash mouth downhill, but it's Darius guys. They got some other guys too. What's it like for a defense, kind of when you face a team like this offense?
Well, again, it goes right back to what I said earlier. We're in a process of creating a mentality and creating an identity, and we can't be focused on who's across the line of scrimmage. You can't get that into that. Otherwise, if you do that, then okay, this week they decide in their head we don't have, this guy's not that and this guy's not that, so here we are down here. Okay, this guy's this and that guy's that, so here we are up here. You can't do that. It's about us. It's about developing a mentality through a process of work in which we do our job each and every snap a certain way with a certain mentality. And if you do that, then that's all you can ask of somebody.
Can you talk just big picture, like philosophically, keeping corners to the field or to the boundary, regardless of matchup? Because you can look at and see that Carlton matched up against Noyle and Javaris matched up against Seals Jones. Size-wise, it would look that maybe the reverse might be more favorable. But sticking to their size, one's on the boundary, one's on the field, just to the big picture philosophically, why you stick with that regardless of the matchup.
Well, it's not so much philosophically because we will switch when we can, but when they're in hurry up and you finish the play on that side of the field and you finishes on that side of the field and they're kind of, you don't know if he's coming in to a minus split or if he's going across the field, so you get in a hurry up, you can get 2 corners on the same side covering 1 guy. So there's times when we will match up and there's times when we won't.
In a spot like that, is that up to just communication amongst the players that come from the sideline? What's kind of the procedure for?
No, we practice that way. We practice that way. I mean, it's practiced, and there's certain calls in which they are absolute. We've got to get matched up. Then there's other calls in which, hey, if you're on that side, stay on that side. If you're on the other side, stay on the other side. And then there's some calls where, hey, if you're field, you're field. If you're boundary, you're boundary.
You had Auburn T last year, and he's off to a phenomenal start this year. Just can you speak to what kind of player that young man is? He's second in the country with 5 sacks already.
Right. Well, he's very gifted. He's very serious about the game. And he practices that way. He enjoys it. You know, he's a very, very talented young man.
Kevin, this is the first pro-style offense. You'll kind of see a different kind of look. Like you said about a month ago, you were already kind of starting to prepare for the LSUs and Arkansas of the world anyway in your preseason camp. Does that kind of help just kind of getting guys?
It helps. You know, football is, I never thought I'd stand before a group the third week of the season and saying, well, we've got a little adjustment to make. We've got to go out there and make sure that we can get lined up against our pro and our slot. I never thought I would say that, but that's where the game is. We have worked on it in the spring. We worked on it in fall camp. We've actually periodically stole a snap or two early in the week because there are some teams like the other night, they lined up in 12 personnel. I think it was 3rd and 2, and they lined up, and I think the back went the wrong way, and he threw it away. Well, that was the same kind of offense. I mean, same formation we'll see this week. So there are occasions we can do it. Have we had enough work at it? Not to suit me, but we got to get it done this week. It's kind of strange, but it almost sounds like back when I was at Nebraska and we had to play Oklahoma with the wishbone. So, and then Georgia Tech. So it was like, okay, take everything you've done, put it over to the side, and now you got to have this game plan. It's almost that different.
How do you feel about Carlton Davis's, first few games?
Well, I think he's bought into the process. That's a hard job when you're asked to take away the best receiver on multiple snaps. I think each week he's gotten better and better and better. So he's bought into the process, and he is working hard to improve, and is doing so.
Take a few more.
You've been around a lot of defensive backs. Do they remind you of anyone, just style-wise?
No, not in particular. I hadn't thought about it. If you gave me a little bit of time, I might could come up with one. There's a whole bunch of them you're talking about, and you said,
We got 10 days. I'll ask you that one too.
okay, yeah. But you don't see me but once every other week, do you?
Anything else? All right, Coach, thank you.
All right.